You would have thought taking off an entire week from my newsletter, from my weekly live, from recording on our YouTube channel would give me a fully charged battery. But as you can hear in my voice, that is not the case. I am fighting off the back half of a cold. So I am sorry that I got a little bit more nasally than I typically am. So apologize for that. But this is live in Fort Collins, coming to you live every week, Tuesday at noon, to talk to you about things that are happening in Fort Collins, northern Colorado, things to do, city council recaps. So let's jump right into it. Native Fort Collins, Mr. Bob Wilson bought Columbine Health Systems in 1970, is starting to cash out in a big way, selling 5 of his facilities in northern Colorado for $62.3 million, and still has about a handful left of assisted living, patio homes, skilled nursing facilities left. But he's a true, rags to riches story. He started as a janitor, a maintenance worker in the 1970s, bought one facility, grew it to what it is now. It is one of the largest skilled nursing providers, patio home, assisted living, you name it, senior care in northern Colorado. You can't talk about it without mentioning Mr. Bob Wilson. So congratulations to all your success, to all of your support that you've given to Fort Collins, northern Colorado, along your growth pattern, your career over the last 55 years. Speaking about growth in Larimer County, northern Colorado, it's one of those things, and we'll talk actually here shortly about how Greeley is going to be surpassing Fort Collins in population in 2026. But the reality is Weld County is passing Larimer County in 2026, and that pattern will continue into the future. But the growth of both Larimer County and Weld County, which creates northern Colorado, provides a need for our district attorneys, public defenders, our jails size, our county courts, all of that and above. And there was recently a property swap between the city of Fort Collins, about 9 acres out on East Vine, that they'll use for storage and other uses, and for a few properties off of Mountain Avenue for the future development of the Larimer County Expansion Justice Center, valued right around $5 million for both of those properties. So it just kind of goes to show the expectations for growth in both Larimer County and Weld County are expected to continue. And Larimer County is one of the largest employers in the city of Fort Collins. So that just took place over the last month, and we'll probably see that building, come to fruition. And it looks, probably around late 2020s, early 2030s. Talking about 3 employees of the city council. So the city council has 3 direct reports: the attorney, chief justice, and the city manager. City manager got a 2% raise, as did the city attorney. But the city judge, let me make sure, chief judge, will remain flat moving into the new year. So 2% raises for our city manager and city attorney, and the chief judge, his salary remained flat. $218,000 for our city chief judge, to $270,000 for our city attorney, and $337,000 for our city manager. So this is what I was going to, and I'm actually going to show my screen. So if you're listening to this on our podcast, the YouTube channel Fort Collins Lifestyles is showing a visual of this, but I wanted to show what our demographers are predicting moving into the new year and into the future. So I will show my screen. There we go. Here we go. So we're right into looking at, we're right around 2025, where Weld County, actually, the projections for this year are that they will actually be above us by about 2,000 people. And this is the first time ever that they're passing us in population. And by 2030, they'll have an extra 20,000 people. And if you jump all the way out to 2060, real quick, right now, between Larimer and Weld County, our projection for population at the end of this year is about 750,000 people. So 750,000 people in Fort Collins. Northern Colorado, Larimer and Weld County. But if you jump all the way out to 2060, our projections are, closer to 1,050,000 people in Northern Colorado by 2060. So over 250,000 people projected to move to Northern Colorado over the next 35 years. So that growth rate is definitely slowing down. But Weld County, even over the next few years is projected to be above 1% for Weld County, whereas Larimer County slowing to a much slower pace to less than 1% into the future. But the growth of Larimer County, Weld County, definitely something to take note of. Which again leads us into this, hey, you know what? Fort Collins is a destination. It's a tourist-driven economy. A lot of different things that are driving Fort Collins economy, but people spending a lot of time in downtown Fort Collins. And there's an upside-down parking system, specifically that our most desirable spots in Fort Collins parking downtown are free, and our least desirable, the parking garage, are paid. And our revenue isn't matching up with what we need to keep up these facilities. And so there is a discussion about implementing paid parking in downtown Fort Collins. There is a kind of highlighted section. Imagine basically Jefferson to Olive, Mason, and kind of over to the pizza slice that is Mountain Avenue and Jefferson. Those will have metered parking, and there's some projections that revenue could go from $2.8 million to $5.9 million annually if this takes place. So it wouldn't. They call it a closed loop system in the sense that like our golfing in Fort Collins, it's the city owns our golfing infrastructure, but it's all the expenses are self-generated by the revenue that it generates. And that's something that they don't believe this could be it fully, but it gets much closer to that kind of closed loop system that the maintenance and development of new parking garages would be covered by the paid parking. And I was curious because there's some pushback from business owners saying, hey, listen, we don't want to deter anyone from coming down and parking downtown. And my initial gut instinct is like, if I can pay $1.50 per hour to be able to stay at a spot for 4 hours, so $6, I'm probably going to do that. And if somebody would rather have garage parking that could be $1 for the first hour or cheap or free, and they'd rather go park there, I sometimes it's more beneficial for me to have that closer spot, and so I'm willing to pay that. And I put a survey on my YouTube channel, Living in Fort Collins, and I asked, would this impact your decision? And 44% said yes, it would impact my decision to come downtown. But 56% said either no, it has no impact, or I wouldn't even think about it. So I am interested to hear your thoughts. Feel free to comment below of, should Fort Collins implement this paid parking? If it should, what parameters should they have? There's still going to be free parking outside of the area. So like if you're willing to walk, you can find free parking within 5 or 6 blocks of downtown Fort Collins. But if you want the premium spots, they are going to start being paid parking for up to 4 hours. I think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a money grab. I think that people vote with their dollars, and I still think people are going to go spend a significant amount of time downtown. I think, paying $6 for 4 hours for many people who are coming from Cheyenne or Denver or Greeley to, expensive time downtown, or they can go park in the parking garages as well. So I think there's tons of options. I think what we aren't restricting is options for people coming down to downtown Fort Collins. You can pay for premium parking. You can still pay a lot less for still desirable parking in these parking garages, have it be covered, or you can park outside of downtown and take the max transit that is free to downtown, or walk. So I think there's still tons of options. In Fort Collins, the downtown area is small, easily accessible. I don't think it would be a big deal if they added paid parking. We're getting to the end of our winter break, but hey, here are some things to do from the Colorado, and 6 things to do. Go check out the Fort Collins Museum of Discovery. Always excited. The gardens on Spring Creek, limited daytime hours. Let's see here. You can also check out Epic, Dora Pool and Ice Center, for swimming or ice skating. Go check out the Pooter Library, or check out another type of library, the Toy Game and Puzzle Library inside the Foothills Mall that just opened up their new space. Definitely something unique to Fort Collins, but excited to have them up and operational. So go do those few things over the next few days while winter break is still in session. The Fort Collins Food Co-op officially closed on and will be opening up what was the Beavers Market building in early 2026. I think this restaurant, or not restaurant, this grocery store, this walkable destination for people, especially having it be the food co-op, is super exciting for people in and around that area, because it's already a co-op, so you can become a member, pay discounted rates. Yikes. Pay discounted rates if you're shopping there, and it's local, and it's Mountain Avenue. It's what Beavers was for everybody. So definitely excited for that to open up. And then the Bohemian Foundation bought the old Fort Collins Food Co-op building for $1.6 million. So excited to see what they do with that building. There was an article in there that showed that the Colorado utility costs are actually the best in the nation when you look at a percent of the income that it is costing you. So in Fort Collins, it costs you about 6.4% of the state's monthly median income for your monthly utilities, or in Colorado, about $568 per month. Whereas like West Virginia, and all I took this was saying that, people in Colorado are earning, are high earners in comparison. That's really what I took this as, because West Virginia, their cost wasn't that much higher, but their percent of median income was up to 15% for your utility costs in the area. Now, utility costs, what they're talking about from move.org is this is electricity, natural gas, water, sewer, trash, internet, streaming, and phone. So those are utilities in the sense that people are using them on a daily basis, but not necessarily like your standard utilities of gas, electric, and water. All right, we'll end up with our city council. There was a tree policy that was just talking about how commercial developers have to go through and get permits to remove trees now of certain sizes. Developers are going to have to replace trees if they remove them, and then also put into an escrow for 3 years a certain amount of money per tree while they maintain and make sure that it stays alive. And then at that point, it goes away. It becomes the property of the owners, and it's their responsibility. That was actually a big to do, especially because Fort Collins is kind of a tree city USA. Over 50,000 trees owned by the city of Fort Collins, but a big burden on developers. So, we continue to talk about affordability. How do we provide that for people? But we're also, on the flip side, adding additional hurdles and costs to these developers to maintain this wonderful city that we call Fort Collins, but also makes it challenging for them to provide affordable housing. The Fort Collins snow policy actually had some pretty decent conversation, and they're going to push it back to 8 weeks to be able to go talk to the Disability Advisory Board, as well as other boards, because they're saying, hey, listen, it's a little bit concerning. We want to make sure that the sidewalks and streets are accessible, and move from a removal of snow, I can't remember what's that called, a abatement policy, to a citation policy. There was over 3,000 notices sent out to you have to remove your snow within 24 hours on the sidewalk, any public facing sidewalks. And if you don't, they give you a notice, and then they come and abate it, and then they send you the bill. And only about 10% get the notice and still don't do anything about it. But the citation would be, a first offense would be $100, second offense would be $300, third offense would be $500, and fourth offense could potentially be a misdemeanor. So they are they're still saying, hey, any public sidewalk, the snow has to be removed, but over 2 inches, you can be cited for it. No abatement, you just get cited. First citation, $100. I mean, for me, that is worth shoveling the dang sidewalk, not getting $100 bill. All right. And then finally, some things to do this week and weekend. A Lego Build Club at Old Town Library, January 2nd, 10 a.m. to 11:15. So check that out. Fourth annual New Year's Day Hangover Games at Old Town Putt on January 1st, 12:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. The Resolution 5K, December 31st, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Adora Pool and Ice Center, which is interesting. This is the New Year at the 42nd annual resolution run. Wow, I didn't know that was 42nd annual. That's pretty cool. AMA Arena Cross Championships, January 3rd at 5290 Arena Circle in Loveland, Colorado. So that's basically at the ranch. Riverside Annual New Year's Day Cold Plunge, January 1st at 10 a.m. in Riverside, Colorado, near the Mishawaka. So those are some things to do this weekend. There's also some rodeo going on at the ranch. So plenty to do. If you guys have any questions, are considering buying, selling, or relocating here in Northern Colorado, give my team and I a call, text, or email. We would love to help you. But otherwise, until next week, Happy New Year, everybody.